Today on the Pilates Springboard, our focus is going to be on the lower body. We're setting up with our long leg springs set to a level 1 at the very bottom of the springboard with our foot straps on. We're going to start targeting the hamstrings. So we're going to take that opposite spring and place it, the right side spring, onto the left foot, with the pad coming around the ankle, flipping over onto the stomach and taking the elbows just off the edge of your mat. We're going to lengthen through the body, tuck the pelvis forward, straighten and lengthen through the left leg. Now we're going to bend the heel in towards your glutes, working that hamstring, and every time we're going to straighten and lengthen the leg out. Remember to keep your pelvis tucked forward. We want to make sure that our pelvis isn't swaying back and forth and that we're not feeling this in the low back, but targeting that hamstring. Really think about lengthening the leg long every time you extend. Also lift up through the chest. Now we're going to curl that leg in and we're going to go into pulses, squeezing that heel towards the glutes, and we're going to keep that foot lifted so we never quite release. We hold and engage and come into these quick pulses here to really get burning. Good, now lengthen the leg out long, and again we're going to bend in, hamstring curl, and stretch and lengthen through the leg. We want to think about everything else staying perfectly in place and the body not jerking or moving around, pelvis nice and stable, and targeting just this particular area at the back of the leg. Now flipping over onto the side with the foot and spring on top. We're going to just bring that elbow onto the mat and we're going to come into a fetal thigh position. So the knees are in line with hips and the ankles in line with the knee, and we're going to go into this parallel lift right here. Our spring is so low that we're really going to put the focus on lifting at the top. So right here we're pressing through that hip every time that we lift and open up. If you don't feel these on the first couple, you will by the time that we're done, and you'll be feeling them afterwards. This side lying work, we're really getting into the hips and into the glutes. Think about opening this top leg like the cover of a book, and we want the knee and the ankle to stay in somewhat of a straight line. Now we're going to straighten that leg out, and we're going to begin where we feel the spring giving a little pull. We're going to sweep the leg forward so the foot's coming across from the knee, and then come back to where we feel that slight resistance in the spring. This is a very small movement here. We want to make sure that the entire body is still and that the hips and shoulders aren't wiggling, but they're staying in place as we sweep forward. Now those muscles will start to get tired after a few, and you'll feel like the movement wants to be less smooth. Think about smoothly sweeping forward and sweeping back. Keeping that top knee lifted so it is over top and not brushing against your bottom. And you can place the hand to the hip to think about steadying there if that helps you. Let's go ahead and release down. I know that burns by the end of that. Now, holding that spring and that foot out in place where we feel the resistance of the spring, we're going to lift and lower the leg. And the burning in that area starts right back up again. Again, think about stabilizing through the body, and the only movement coming from that leg. Your foot wants to be in that place where you can feel the resistance of the spring. When that movement gets challenging, make sure that you continue to breathe. Don't hold your breath, and try to relax the muscles of your face and relax through your body everywhere that you're not directly working. Good, release that down. Go ahead and let the foot come out of the spring. And now take that left leg that you've been working and bring that forward into pigeon. Go ahead and bring the upper body down if that feels good and continue stretching right there. Whew, if that is burning significantly for you, just let it sink in that what we do to one side, we must do to the other. Now placing that right leg into the left side spring and bringing the back of the strap around your ankle, we're going to come forward. Tuck the elbows at the end of the mat, tuck the pelvis forward rather than slumping down. We want to tuck forward and lift up the chest. Lengthen through that leg and bend in. So really think about the knee lifting off the mat and reaching out every time that you lengthen. And as far as your standing leg goes, think about lengthening through that leg as well. And think about keeping a nice long line through the body while you're targeting this area. So don't get lazy with your posture. Think about lengthening and extending through the whole body while you're just working on this small area, targeting those hamstrings. Now hold that leg in and go into the pulses. Make sure that you continue breathing. When I do these pulses, I like to do rapid exhalations. Lengthen the leg out and pull in. Inhale as you reach, exhale to bend that ankle in. Nice steady flow of breath. Anytime you feel muscles seizing up or the movement getting challenging, make sure that you continue to breathe. Don't hold your breath when your muscles need that oxygen the most. Good, lengthen that leg out and away. Now we're turning onto the side. The foot that's in the spring is going to be on top and we're coming into that fetal thigh position. Knees in line with the hips, knees in line with the ankles, and we're going into the parallel lift right here. So be focusing on that push at the top. That's where the resistance is found, at the top of this movement. Good, I'm finding that I need to adjust my strap a little bit here. If you need to do the same, take a moment to do so. Now straighten out the leg so that you can feel that pull of the spring right there, and then we're going to sweep that leg forward. Again, this is such a small, tiny movement that doesn't seem like much to look at, but when you are experiencing this, you definitely are feeling it. We're sweeping slightly forward. And it's very easy here to feel like you get to a place where you're just kicking forward just to get the leg there. Really think about sweeping nice and smoothly to the front and to the back. This gets very challenging, especially on the second side. Bring that foot down and let it rest for a moment. Now right here where we feel the spring pulling away from the springboard, where you begin to feel resistance, that's where our leg is lying and where we start here. Lifting the leg into the air and then tapping the toe back down towards the ground. By this point, when I'm nearing the end of this exercise put together in this series, and I'm feeling tons of sensations, sometimes what I need to do when I feel like I can't go on and do one more is to close my eyes, breathe deeply, and try to focus on my breath while still focusing on my form through this movement. Of course, listen to your body, and if you need to take breaks or do less repetitions, do so and work your way up. Go ahead and remove that foot from the strap, and we're going to flip over and pull that working leg forward as we come into pigeon. Sitting up tall for just a moment, and then we'll lean forward if that feels good, lengthening out, and just allow that side of the body to stretch. We've worked through the hamstring, through the glutes, and through the hip. And now we're going to lie on the back and put those feet into the straps. We're going to have our springs all the way down here at level 1 for our feet in straps section of this workout. It's a very different placement of the springs than we're typically on when we have feet in straps in the springboard. Coming first to frog, we're going to place our feet into a V at the ankles, and the springs are coming in between our knees. We're going to press out the legs straight and draw the knees back in towards the board. We want our knees to not be opened up too wide that they're hanging off to the side. They're going to be a little slightly wider than our shoulders here. And we're holding on to that V shape in our feet and the V shape in our knees. Press out and lengthen and draw in. We want to keep the pelvis planted on the mat, and throughout these exercises, we want to feel relaxed and lengthened through the torso. So we're not changing shapes through the back. We've just got the chest relaxed down, and we have our pelvis in place on the mat. Right here, we're going to point through the toes and we're going to reach up into the opening. So we're going to take the legs out wide and up, and then press them back together. Use those inner thighs to press back into your starting position. This is an active stretch here for those hips, and a great one for improving flexibility. We shouldn't be changing the position of the pelvis in order to try to force the legs wider or get deeper into that stretch. We want to hold that pelvis really stationary, really still as we open up and stretch, and then zip those legs back together. Now, holding that external rotation of the feet with the heels in a V, we're going to lower down and then lift the feet up towards the springboard. Now, we're going to give a little stretch through the hamstrings here. We're going to try to reach our feet as far forward towards the springboard as we can here at the top, and then press back out to a 45-degree angle. So we want to make sure that we're not peeling our entire pelvis up when those feet come towards the springboard. We're holding that down onto the mat and allowing the backs of our legs to stretch without rolling the pelvis up and rolling through the spine. Remember to stay really relaxed through the torso and hold that position on the mat. Now hold that position of the feet out, and we're going to come to a parallel position with the insides of the feet together rather than being in that external rotation. And do the same thing, pressing the legs out towards 45 degrees and lifting the legs up towards the springboard. We're lengthening those legs nice and straight and thinking about stretching the underside of the legs as we roll forward while still keeping that torso steady on the mat and not lifting the entire pelvis up off of the mat. Maintain a steady flow of breath here exhaling on the exertion as you're pressing those legs away, and inhaling as you're drawing up and stretching. This is a work and a stretch at the same time, as so many exercises in Pilates is. Holding the legs out here at a 45-degree angle, we're keeping them parallel, and we're going to take some walking exercises, switching those feet back and forth, just like we have nice straight legs walking. Now we're going to walk them up to the sky at a 90-degree angle with the ankles over top of the hips, and stay right here, switching back and forth. Now walking back down towards that 45-degree angle, hold right here, and walking back up towards 90 degrees, holding here, and walking back down. Each time you can think about walking down and then taking 5 steps back and forth, walking back up and taking 5 steps at the top, and walking back down. Think about nice, even switches of the legs right here. When I do these exercises, it makes me think of a Barbie doll with nice, long, straight legs that don't bend, and they're just moving back and forth in space. If she were to be walking around, this is what her legs would look like, walking back and forth. And this is your Springboard Barbie moment of the day. Really lengthen nice and tall through the toes. Imagine as you place those legs up and down, moving back and forth, and holding that you are reaching long, 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 and lengthening through your limbs. And holding the legs steady here, we're going to reach out towards 45 degrees, and we're going to go into leg circles, taking the legs down, opening out, zipping together, and coming back. Pressing down, open around and up, zip together, press down. Like hip circles, only we're keeping them more narrow. So we're thinking about the legs going only about as wide as the width of your mat, and utilizing that core to hold everything in your torso nice and steady. We're going to switch directions here. So we open, press down and around, zip the legs together, and lift up. Now lifting the legs up to a 90-degree angle, we're going to go into hip circles up. So we're going to lift up tall, open the legs, circle the legs together and around, and lift up straight and tall. We reach out to a 45-degree angle and lift up to 90 degrees. So rather than holding the legs at relatively the same angle like we did in the leg circles, we're going to lift up to 90 degrees, and we're going to allow those hips to open and fully rotate here. We're going to be taking these hip circles in just one direction today. Use those inner thighs to zip the legs together and draw them up as one steady unit up to 90 degrees. Open, stretch, circle around. This is the last one right here. Go ahead and come to an external rotation of the feet, bend into frog, and we're going to press out, point through the toes, flex through the heels, draw back into frog. Active flex of the heels, point, flex, draw back in. Push those legs out straight, point through the toes, flex through the heels, and draw back in. Continue right here. Make it a nice, smooth flow. Last one right here, pointing out. Point the toes, flex the heels. Now bring the feet parallel, flex those heels, and lift the legs up. Grab onto your straps here and gently pull in, stretching and lengthening through the legs. Now open up the legs right here. Let those legs fall off to the side, holding on to your foot strap with your hands. And think about releasing and relaxing. Now bend the heels in towards each other and press the legs back out straight. Point, flex the heels. Flexing the heels, bend the heels into each other. Open up, point through the toes, flex through the heels. So you're bending back in into a frog position, lengthening out long, point the toes, flex the heels, and continue right here. Now, keeping the feet flexed and extending the legs long, we're going to rock from side to side, still holding onto those straps. We're going to rock back and forth and feel that gentle massage on your spine. So you're rolling back and forth on the spine right there, breathing deeply and stretching the legs, letting everything open up. If you're not to a flexibility place where you can extend the legs straight, that's okay. Bend in the legs right here, and we're going to be in happy baby. Purposefully bent, but if you couldn't have the legs perfectly straight before, that's okay for you to have a slight bend. Now we're bending the knees towards the floor on purpose and rocking back and forth, and you'll feel this in a different space in your spine. Good, right here, extending the legs back out straight and pointing through the toes this time, rocking back and forth from this position again. Keep breathing and relax the body, lengthen and stretch. Right here, hold the spine steady, draw the legs back together, and gently pull the toes towards the springboard. Now bend through the knees and bring the insides, the palms of the feet together with those straps still on. Let those springs just come up over your chest here, and let the feet hover here with the knees open and the hips opening up. And bring the feet back up, remove the foot straps, and lengthen the legs out long. Bring the hands down by the side and just take a few breaths here, feeling the long length of your body. I love any time that my feet come into the straps on the springboard, how long and lengthened I feel. Lift the arms up overhead, take a roll up to seating, stretch over top of those feet, and lift up tall through the spine. Great work today, and thank you so much for joining me on the springboard. I will see you next time in the studio.